Hello everyone, welcome to the ICL Immigration Coffee with Clint video session. Today we are talking about a topic that is an alternative option for those wishing to immigrate but have complex, complicated or low points profiles where regular immigration streams become challenging, and that is the student permit. A student permit is a document issued by Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada, or IRCC, that allows a foreign national to study in Canada at a designated learning institution, or DLI, for a limited period of time. This option is by no means easy or cheap, but nonetheless, it's a viable option for those fortunate enough to be able to afford it, as studying in Canada as an international student is incredibly expensive. As just mentioned, a study permit is a document IRCC issue to most foreign nationals when they wish to study in Canada at a designated learning institution for a specified period of time. There are two scenarios where a student permit comes into being. The first is when you apply to study in Canada as the main applicant. The second, when you have dependent children that accompany you on other permits, like a work permit. Something to be aware of when navigating this process is to know the difference between a student permit and a study visa. While they may sound the same, they are two very different things. A study visa is what is placed into your passport, allowing you to travel to Canada to assume studies. This is a transit visa allowing travel. A student permit is a document that is issued to you when you arrive in Canada, which permits you to attend studies for the duration of the course you apply to. This is a temporary resident document similar to a work permit. Like almost all immigration programs, you have to meet certain criteria in order to be eligible to apply for a student permit. There are currently different criteria you need to meet, and these are as follows. You need to obtain a letter of acceptance from a designated learning institution in order to submit an application for a study permit. You need to prove that you have sufficient financial support to cover the first year of tuition, as well as living expenses and return transportation to your home country. You need to obtain a Quebec Acceptance Certificate, or CAQ, if you wish to study in Montreal or elsewhere in the province of Quebec. You need to have a clear criminal record. Applicants with criminal backgrounds or who pose a risk to Canadian security may be refused. IRCC will request an applicant to supply a police clearance certificate. You need to be in good health. IRCC will request an applicant to complete a medical examination, and they need to satisfy the immigration officer that they will leave Canada at the end of the stay authorized by the study permit. To learn more about student permits, visit this page on our website, iclimmigration.com/Canada-study-permit. An applicant for a Canadian study permit may include his or her family members on the application, so that they may accompany the applicant to Canada. An accompanying spouse may be eligible to obtain an open work permit, and minor children may be eligible to study at Canadian elementary and secondary schools. A word of caution here is that unless you have very, very strong ties to your home country that will draw you back after your studies, never include your family on the initial application. Apply for them to join you only once the main applicant's student visa is approved. A spouse will be eligible for an open work permit. Dependent children will be eligible for student permits to attend school. Applying for a student permit can be a very complicated process involving confusing rules and regulations, subjective interpretation by immigration officers, and a cumbersome and expensive appeal process coupled with a lack of transparency throughout. With the detailed guide on the government website not listing all the reasons for rejection of study permits, students seeking to study in Canada often feel very optimistic about their prospects, especially on fulfilling the academic and other admission requirements of the Canadian educational institutions. A lot of information related to study permits is detailed in the program delivery instructions, guidelines that immigration officers follow when processing study permit applications. These instructions are not part of the official guide and are not always clear to applicants when visiting the government websites. These difficult to find instructions are shared as a courtesy to stakeholders to improve their applications in the hopes of avoiding rejections of their applications. The first reason is insufficient family ties to the home country. The absence of adequate ties to the home country can impact chances adversely, as this may raise doubts on the applicant's intent to return home after completing his or her studies. Normally, having a family established in the home country with ownership of properties and other assets may be enough to prove family ties. The applicant must take care to avoid financial transactions and other decisions that may raise doubts about ties with the home country. The second is no job prospects in the home country. A letter from the current employer indicating that the applicant is assured of a job in the home country after completing his or her education ought to be adequate to prove employment prospects. Applicants without a job in hand can submit proof that the study course they intend to join will help them qualify for jobs in the home country, or else the immigration officer may conclude that the study permit is intended to help the applicant settle permanently in Canada. The third is inadequate travel history. This reason often impacts those who have just completed high school and have limited travel abroad in the past. While this point is not considered in isolation, and authorities must take other relevant factors into account, not having traveled outside of their countries or never having traveled by air may cause your study permit to be rejected. The fourth is financial insufficiency. The program delivery instructions clearly state that the applicant is required to provide proof of adequate finances only for the first year of the course. Yet applications often get rejected because the immigration officer suspected financial insufficiency. Hence, merely focusing on the first year may not suffice. Ideally, you can minimize chances of rejection by showing proof of adequate finances for more than 1 year, even though this is expressly indicated as not being required for acceptance. The last is dual intent. A study permit or work permit is a temporary residence permit that requires the applicant to intend to leave Canada on expiry of the permit. Yet, the doctrine of dual intent, as defined in the Immigration and Refugee Protection Act, permits such individuals to intend to eventually become permanent residents. Something to be very aware of is that a rejection becomes a permanent blemish on your record and may complicate attempts to obtain any other visa in Canada or even in other countries that attach importance to visa rejections by Canadian authorities. An important part of the application process for any study program at an international university is the motivation letter or study plan, as it's more commonly known. You are required to write and submit with your application. But how do you write the best motivation letter, and why is it so important to your process anyway? A well-written letter can be a decisive factor in ensuring an approved student permit. It is probably the most personalized document of your entire application. Therefore, writing an original motivation letter for your studies is a task that should not be taken lightly. A good study plan should explain your goals and how your study plan fits into your academic and career plans in 1 to 2 pages, and the following questions should typically be answered. Why do you wish to study in Canada in the program for which you have been accepted? What is your overall educational goal? Why are you not pursuing a similar program in your country of residence or citizenship? What research have you done into studies in your home country? And why can you not do this course in that country? How will this program enhance your employment opportunities in your country of residence? What ties do you have to your country of residence or citizenship? Do you have family? Do you have a job? Do you have accounts, debts, things like that? Since the study permit is a temporary type of visa, the purpose of the last question is to convince that you will leave Canada at the end of your studies. After graduation, many students choose to stay in Canada to live and work. Study permits expire 90 days after graduation, regardless of the date printed on the study permit itself. It is extremely important that international graduates update their statuses with IRCC within 90 days of graduation, or they risk losing status in Canada. You would have a few options to consider at this point. You may be eligible for a postgraduate work permit or PGWP. This permits the holder to work for any employer anywhere in Canada for up to 3 years after graduation, usually for the same duration of your study permit, ranging from 8 months to 3 years. Work experience gained on a PGWP may help facilitate an application for Canadian permanent residency, especially through programs such as the Canadian Experience Class Program and certain provincial nomination programs, or PNPs, once you meet the requirements for those programs. Or if an international graduate does not apply for a PGWP, he or she may do the following to maintain legal status in Canada. Apply to change your status to a visitor. Apply for another study permit to continue a different study program. For example, a graduate may wish to continue onto a master's degree program after graduating with a bachelor's degree, or you can leave Canada. And that's a wrap for today's video session, where we discussed the requirements to be able to study in Canada and how best to prepare a successful application. If you need more information, feel free to drop us an email to info@iclimmigration.com or visit our website, iclimmigration.com. As always, if you are thinking about immigrating to Canada, it all starts with eligibility. To determine yours, visit our website and click on Do You Qualify? Feedback is provided within 2 business days, along with any viable options that present based on your profile. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share the content on your own social channels. It is here to assist everyone. Thanks for joining me today, everyone. Stay safe and cheers.